picture this. It's 3 a.m. You're driving down a dark, lonely stretch of highway. The only sound? Just the hum of your tires on the asphalt and the steady, hypnotic rhythm of the windshield wipers. Your high beams are cutting through this thick fog, but honestly, they only light up a few feet of the completely empty road ahead. You're totally alone. Or are you? Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're setting a seriously spooky campfire mood. We're diving into those dark, isolated stretches of road where professional drivers and late-night travelers swear up and down that they aren't alone. We're going to explore the absolutely chilling phenomenon of haunted highways and phantom truckers. Sure, these stories are truly terrifying, but we're also going to look at the actual data and figure out the deep psychology behind this fear together.
Now, to get us straight into that eerie vibe, let's jump right into the passenger seat of a haunted 18-wheeler with this absolute classic line, "Son, you just met Big Joe and the Phantom 309. I mean, talk about the ultimate punchline from beyond the grave. That line comes straight from a legendary piece of trucker folklore that has literally been sending shivers down people's spines for decades.
Section 1. Classic Ghost Trucker Legends. Let's get right into it. So we're kicking things off with a famous 1967 song by Red Savine. It's all about Big Joe and his massive rig, the Phantom 309. The story basically goes like this. There's this hitchhiker stranded at a crossroads in the freezing, pouring rain. Suddenly, this old Mack truck pulls up. The driver, Big Joe, offers him a warm ride, eventually dropping him off at a local diner down the road, and even presses a dime into his hand for a hot cup of coffee. But here's the twist. When the hitchhiker tells the diner waitress who just dropped him off, the entire place goes dead silent. The waitress then reveals the chilling truth. Big Joe actually died 10 years earlier at that very intersection. He intentionally crashed his rig to avoid hitting a school bus full of kids. Now his imposing specter continues to patrol the highway, acting as a kind of ghostly guardian rescuing stranded travelers.
What's fascinating here is how different cultures create totally unique lore to process similar highway tragedies. Let's contrast America's heroic ghost, Big Joe, who saves travelers, with Mexico's tragic ghost, El Trailero Fantasma of La Rumorosa. Now, La Rumorosa is this notoriously dangerous, winding mountain highway down in Baja California. According to the legend, a trucker was speeding through its treacherous curves because his wife was in Mexicali about to give birth. He desperately needed to deliver money for the hospital. Sadly, he crashed and died. Fast forward years later, and another trucker picks up a frantic man on that exact same road, who begs him to deliver an envelope of cash to his pregnant wife. When that second trucker actually delivers the money, the confused woman at the door tells him her husband died on the highway 5 years ago. Que de miedo, right? Two totally different cultures, two totally different ghosts. One's a guardian angel, the other is his tragic soul forever trying to complete his final delivery.
Moving on to Section 2, the Phantom Hitchhiker.
All right, let's trace the sheer age of these spooky stories. Academic research by Jose Manuel Pedrosa actually reveals that these tales of highway terror, they are ancient. We can trace the DNA of these stories all the way back to a 12th century Sanskrit collection called the Badal Pachizi. That story features a newlywed couple traveling through a dark, wild forest where they're attacked by savages, and the groom is decapitated. Now fast forward to 1964, and that ancient framework evolves into the modern urban legend known as the boyfriend's death. You've probably heard it at a sleepover. A couple's car breaks down in a dark, isolated area. The boyfriend leaves to get gas, tells his girlfriend to lock the doors. Hours pass. The radio starts warning about an escaped lunatic in the area. Then she hears it. A slow, rhythmic thump, thump, thump on the roof of the car. When the police finally arrive, they tell her to step out, and whatever she does, don't look back. But of course, she turns around to see a madman on the roof, bouncing her boyfriend's severed head. It is wild how a tale can survive and adapt from 12th century Sanskrit texts all the way to modern internet folklore.
So, the really crucial point here is how academic folklorist Gillian Bennett categorizes these modern vanishing passenger tales in her study, Phantom Hitchhikers and Bad Deaths. She specifically zeroes in on what she calls Type A, the homegoing ghost. Now, in these stories, a driver picks up a quiet, often shivering young person. They ask to be taken to a very specific address, but somewhere along the drive they completely vanish, just disappear from a moving, locked car. When the completely bewildered driver knocks on the door of the address to return, say, a forgotten sweater, a grieving parent explains that their child actually died in a car crash on that exact curve years ago.
When you actually look at the hard data Bennett compiled from 100 different Phantom Hitchhiker stories, a really stark pattern emerges. Notice the numbers. 87% of these ghosts are young women, and the vast majority died in sudden, violent car crashes. So this isn't just a random spooky campfire story. This data reveals some really deep cultural anxieties we have about premature death and the extreme vulnerability of youth out on the open road.
That brings us to Section 3, Deconstructing the Spooky Myths. It's time to destrip la leyenda, to completely gut the legend.
Bennett's research actually uncovers a fascinating psychological truth. These hitchhiking ghosts, they almost never represent evil demons or malevolent spirits. Instead, they represent our collective cultural fear of what she calls a bad death. A bad death is one that's sudden, violent, unwitnessed, and far from family. Basically, it's a life left tragically unfulfilled, cut short on a lonely stretch of pavement without even the chance to say a proper goodbye.
So these legends actually act as a massive psychological coping mechanism. Think about it. When a random, violent highway accident claims a young, innocent life, it completely shatters our sense of a fair and orderly world. By telling these stories about spirits who are endlessly trying to get back home to their mothers, we're really just attempting to give some kind of meaning and a strange sort of closure to the victims of these senseless tragedies. We're acknowledging that their urge to return to their loved ones is somehow stronger than death itself.
Furthermore, Bennett's research points out something really poignant. A lot of these stories feature ghosts hitchhiking to or from dances, parties, or weddings. And this brilliantly illustrates another deep layer of the psychology here. There's this overarching cultural consensus that it is an absolute tragedy to die before tasting life's joys. These spirits aren't out to harm the drivers who pick them up. No, they are, as Bennett puts it, blithe spirits. They just want to have a good time, and they don't want death to spoil their fun. They're essentially a manifestation of our grief for those unlived lives.
Section 4, the real highway dangers.
Now, we really have to ask the critical question. Are these ghosts actually haunting our highways, or are they just haunting our psyches? I mean, what is actually out there in the dark when you've been driving for 14 hours straight? If you strip away all the paranormal stuff, the reality is arguably way more terrifying. The true horrors of the road are extreme sleep deprivation, absolute bone-crushing isolation, highway hypnosis, and the ever-present threat of fatal crashes. Truckers are out there navigating these massive, multi-ton machines in the dead of night, literally fighting their own biology to stay awake while staring at a mesmerizing, seemingly endless white line.
And that brings us to the infamous legend of the black dog. Many truckers whisper about this massive, spectral black dog with glowing red eyes that just suddenly appears right on the hood of their truck or darts across the road. But guys, this isn't some demon from hell. The black dog is a very well-documented psychological phenomenon. It is literally an exhausted trucker's brain desperately hallucinating. It's a terrifying, adrenaline-spiking warning from your own subconscious, practically screaming at you to hit the brakes and pull over immediately before you fall asleep at the wheel and cause a fatal crash. The monster might not be real, but the danger it represents is absolutely deadly.
To really ground these ghost stories in stark reality, let's look back at La Rumorosa in Mexico, the home of the phantom trucker we talked about earlier. This treacherous stretch of mountain highway isn't just scary and campfire stories. It averages an astonishing 170 real-world accidents every single year. Let that sink in. The steep drops, the fierce winds that literally howl like human voices, the hairpin turns, the environment itself is inherently hostile. The legends are really just a reflection of the actual tragic body count.
Section 5. Why we need ghosts. So why keep telling these stories? Well, this folklore serves incredible utility. First off, it acts as a stark warning. Legends like the black dog remind drivers to stay alert and deeply respect the dangers of fatigue. Second, it fosters a sense of camaraderie. Sharing these spooky stories builds a tightly knit community in what is otherwise an incredibly lonely profession. And third, and maybe most importantly, these legends serve to honor real-world, everyday heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice.
Take Phantom 309, for example. Big Joe wasn't actually entirely a myth. He was based on a very real man named John William Pete Trudell. Back in January 1963, Pete was driving a tanker loaded with 4,600 gallons of gasoline in Massachusetts. He came around a blind curve and saw a car and a school bus stopped dead on the road. Knowing full well he couldn't stop his massive rig in time, Pete consciously chose to swerve his truck into a bridge abutment. He sacrificed his own life in a fiery crash just to save those kids. One man's incredibly selfless sacrifice on the asphalt was immortalized into the enduring legend of Big Joe. We keep telling the ghost story so we never ever forget the man.
This intense respect for the road breeds a really fascinating set of superstitions that drivers use to cope with the isolation and the danger. For instance, a lot of truckers flat out refuse to travel with sire, meaning an entirely empty passenger seat. They'll actually strap a stuffed animal or a bag into the seat because the superstition warns that if the seat is left empty, a wandering spirit might just decide to occupy it. Others will hold their breath when passing a cemetery so they don't accidentally inhale a spirit, or they'll affectionately pat the dashboard to thank their truck for getting them through a dangerous mountain pass safely. These quirky little rituals, they're essentially psychological armor against the dark.
Which brings us to the end of our dark journey. We've gutted the legends, and we've seen the very real human psychology, the intense fear, and the incredible heroism that actually builds these stories. But still, the next time you're driving down a dark, completely empty highway at 3 a.m., you're fighting sleep, staring at those endless white lines, and suddenly you catch a cold draft in the cab. I want you to ask yourself, who is really riding in the passenger seat? Is it just your exhausted imagination, or is it Big Joe just making sure you get home safe? Stay alert out there, everyone.